I've got a metric crap ton of gun pictures on Instagram that we could do this with for basically forever. There's 5,000 some odd of these. And I figured I would do this one and talk about why I love the 1911. This is my 1911 Crom or Sally. I'm not sure which one you'd really call it. Probably Sally, actually. I think it just says Crom on it, maybe. But in any case, I chose this as my one pistol to own if I was only going to own one pistol. And if you're like most people, you think if you were only going to own one gun, it would probably be a pistol. And my reasoning behind choosing this is that I like a gun that I could carry every day, that I could have as a range gun, that I could, you know, do anything I would need to do with a handgun. And I wanted a history piece. And, you know, I also needed it to perform. And that's kind of how I ended up at this modernized GI style 1911 contraption that you see here. It's everything I want one handgun to be. It's kind of like Han Solo and a Han Solo blaster and a World War II era 1911 fucked. I dig it. Now, would I just want a regular plain Jane World War II 1911? That was my old choice. I made a video years ago that's on this channel that's my one gun. If I could only have one gun, I chose the 1911 and the M16 because I'll never just pick one. And I would make the same choice now, but it would be the 1911 as modified by me, and my M16 would be the KE Arms lowered one that I built. And it's because you get a lot of that historical vibe that I like in shooting a gun, but you also get modern capabilities and optics and sights and stuff. And I think all of that's bitching. And if you can keep all the historical handling and gain, you know, sights and lights and shit like that, I think that's cool. That's why I love this TLR6 light that's on here. Is you would think that that's like not enough light for a handgun. That is one thing you would say about this, and you would be right. This is a complete blackout conditions light. At that point, it's pretty good. If you're in a semi-lit room, you're probably just better with the light off. However, it's really slim and trimmed to the gun, and you don't even notice it, and it has a laser. And you'd be like, well, why would you care if it has a laser? Well, for shooting under night vision, a red laser comes in real handy. It's maybe visible to whoever you're shooting at, potentially. But if you've already gone loud, you might as well pop your lasers on. It's better to be accurate than it is to not be seen. If that makes any sense. And if you could have your handgun have a micro light laser combo added to it at virtually no additional cost, this is one of the things that I think really brings this gun into the 21st century, and I love Streamlight for it. It's a great piece of kit. And I was already picking up the 1911. I was just going to rock irons only and be old school and whatever. And then Never Enough Ammo gave me this Streamlight TLR6 that he had laying around and was like, here, somehow I think you'll like this. And he was fucking right. I love this TLR6. I had to make a holster for it, and we can go look at that. Hold on to your panties. Somewhere in here. It's me and Dakota. We were fucking adorable together, if I do say so myself. So this is the holster that I made for that gun. And basically, I think I would have to make a holster for this. Like, I don't know anyone on earth who would make exactly what I wanted in a holster for this gun. So I'm glad I had the tools to do this, at least for a minute, to make this holster. I sold all my Kydex making shit because it was sitting around doing nothing, and I hate doing kydex, and I needed money. And I cleared out the shop of everything that wasn't essential for blacksmithing, basically, to another knife maker. He was here for Wanamaker, and he came to buy the grinder, and it was one of those, like, he traded me some knives that he made and a whole bunch of cash. Anyway, you have to have a way to carry a gun, and that's the thing with adding that TLR6 is without a way to carry that gun, it's kind of useless, and that's what I ran into with this, and that's why I sat around with this gun and looked at it for a long time, thinking, "Man, this thing is fucking pimptastic," but I can't carry it at all ever. And lo and behold, the miracle that is necessity resulted in this like tiger striped leather backed cowboy rig for a fucking 1911 that's just perfect. It's perfect. It's one of the greatest things I've ever made. I am really proud of that holster, and I really like having that World War One era mag pouch to go with it because, like, you're probably not going to need extra mags. If you do, you'll probably be behind something reloading. So, you know, I figured that's a good mag pouch. That's not entirely accurate, like, but if you're like standing there exchanging fire with somebody, I don't know if I would be going for a mag to reload. There's other options at that point. A lot of situations, but I like having my magazines protected and covered and whatever because I think it's more likely that that's going to save me than being out in the open and speedy to access. So now that you have all that in mind with the 1911, it's a great picture. Do that one. Now you have all that in mind with the 1911. The other reason that I picked it is the history. The history of the 1911 is amazing. Adopted in 1911, as one would imagine, went on to serve in World War One, a whole bunch of weird shit in the 20s and 30s, expedition wise for the U.S. military and gangster wise in the U.S. And then World War II and Korea and Vietnam and all the way to today. I guarantee you there's someone in fucking MARSOC or the SEALs rocking a 1911 today. And the reason I guarantee that is because I am carrying one, and if I'm strange enough to be carrying a 21st century 1911 as a primary gun, hoping to get the chance to use it in World War III because it would be badass to use a gun that had been in 2 world wars and the 3rd World War. Oh, 100% someone else thinks that in fucking Delta Force or SEALs or some shit. 100%. That's like, this is the great thing. It's going to be used in 3 world wars to some capacity. Like, I kind of figure whatever happens in World War III, it's probably going to end up happening in America, believe it or not. I think we're going to get invaded. So we'll eventually get to have all of our 1911s be in World War III, maybe. But all of that history makes it a cool piece. The gangster shit in the 20s alone would make it worth having. All of the war shit on top of that makes it worth having. 45 ACP is just effective with whatever you have, ball ammo even. And that was kind of half of my thinking was, okay, we're going to be limited on ammunition that we get. And we might be facing gun control and shit. So let's buy a 45 because I can get 45 while everybody else is chasing 9mm. And I'll have smaller magazines and I can be more judicious with my ammunition. And I have a gun that is much more accurate to shoot. I think all that's pretty reasonable. And then on top of that, my grandfather's favorite gun was the 1911. And that means something to me. And as a result of that, also, I grew up shooting the damn thing. And this one, I worked on myself. That's perfect for me. It's not perfect for everybody. Everybody's weird about 1911s. I like a really, really stock GI gun with a pretty heavy trigger. Most people wouldn't like my gun. This has a 5-pound trigger and it breaks clean, but it breaks at 5. And everything else on the gun is pretty much stock. The mainspring housing I swapped out for a USGI steel one because the one that Remington put on here was plastic. The sights I played around with, and I'm going to exchange those again. Right now, they're just the 3 dots that Remington sent, which are actually not bad sights. Compared to most 1911 sights, those 3-dot sights are quite good. I would take those over the standard any day. That's half the reason I fell in love with the Remington. It's the perfect match of everything that I like about 1911s. And the fact that Matt and I both said that, and I've heard a couple of other people from Texas and Oklahoma say that, whoever designed that gun had to be one of us weirdos. Like, there's a crowd of people here in Texas that would carry 1911s, Texas and Oklahoma, that would carry 1911s to barbecues. That's who these guns are made for. Like, I don't want my 1911 to look like everybody else's. That's one of the things that I came to find about everything in life. But my 1911 is very much this, is that if that's your barbecue gun and says something all about you or whatever, my 1911 says shit about me. It's like looking at a fucking lightsaber or a katana or some shit. Like, it has 2 different World War II grips that I scored for cheap at 2 different gun shows. It has a light laser combo on it from my friend Matt. It has Dremel engraving on it that I did freehand myself in the style of my mentor Matt Freeman. It's a perfect weapon. Like, as far as a close quarters weapon to shoot less than 4 people with, I can't imagine having a better thing than a 1911. And that's really where the 1911 shines, is that 1 to 3 people inside of close quarters versus you. Like, it's not, oh, you versus 100 ninjas or something like that. But that 1 versus 1 or 2, 3 people, that's a thing that happens most of the time that anything happens. I think that's the thing a lot of people don't get. Also had some people talk shit about the reliability of this or any 1911, and I don't know. I think other people's 1911s fuck up for a variety of reasons. My 1911 is like, well, it's special. Let's put it that way. And it's not like I did anything particularly special to it. It's more that I like a really GI gun because it is reliable. Most of the reliability problems you've ever heard of with 1911s aren't on really, really GI guns. Either that or they're not properly maintained. That's the thing, too, is like, if you go take this and shoot it a bunch, you might have to replace springs on it eventually. It's an old gun. You need to, like, treat it like one. That's kind of like my other gun is a fucking black powder revolver. Like, not my only other gun, but like, in my mind, for Doomsday, I'm going to have a few guns on me or whatever, a couple on my hip. And what I'd really like to have is this thing on one hip and a black powder revolver on the other hip. So, like, this thing seems light and modern compared to the black powder revolver. And I think this is more about, carrying cool shit. Like, once you have decided that any gun will work for you, it's all about preference and taste and whatever. And, like, this one is one that I just happen to really love. Thanks for watching. And I hope somebody liked my, like, you know, oral job on the fucking 1911, or whatever you want to call this. The fucking, I'm just blowing the 1911. That's what I should call these videos. Should like always line up 2, 3 pictures to do, and just call it blowing the whatever the gun is. If you watched all the way to the end, tell me if you liked that idea. Thanks for watching.